Welcome to another Reading Reddit live stream highlights video. Today we got some juicy Reddit stories that actually you guys sent into my Discord for me to react to, such as r/true off my chest, I'm being sexually harassed by my stepdaughter, r/am I the a-hole, am I the a-hole for eating sexy potatoes, and r/relationship advice, my ex-fiance cheated on me with my cousin. Now my family wants me to forgive him because he's sick with cancer. You guys absolutely killed it with these stories. Keep sending me stories to react to on my stream in my Discord. If you're not in there, link in the description. And just a heads up, if you haven't heard yet, my streaming/content computer went down about a week and a half ago. I'm not gonna get into all the nerdy details, but I didn't have this computer to stream on, and so I was just streaming on my phone for this. And so my phone audio sounds nowhere as good as this audio right now. Just giving you guys the heads up, especially people who watch this on the podcast. I apologize. The audio is not going to be good. If you can push through the terrible audio, I promise these stories are absolutely crazy. But if you can't, I totally understand. And now that I got this thing back up and running, we are back to our regularly scheduled streams, as well as they will sound good. I actually have 2 full streams that I haven't even started editing yet, and I'm planning on dropping both of those next week because I missed an upload last week. So stay tuned for that. As always, make sure to subscribe or follow if you're on Spotify. And of course, if you want to be here for the reads live, make sure to go follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/bysarby. Link is in the description.
Okay, so this one was sent in by Couch Skittle. It's a true off my chest, and it's just, I'm being sexually harassed by my stepdaughter. So if you have any trigger warning stuff or anything like that, just quick heads up. I feel like I'm living with a demon. I've been in a relationship with my wife for 13 years, and her daughter was 3 years old at the time. Everything went really well until she started entering adolescence, and from that point on, she began to be a little bit too tactile with me for my liking. She would pretend to kiss me by quickly bringing her mouth close to mine, then play footsie with me under the table, ask me to scratch her back, and then asking me to go lower. In short, completely inappropriate behavior. My wife and I have tried everything, including 2 whole years of family therapy, during which she would go as far as to say that she was madly in love with me and wanted to spend the rest of her life by my side. The therapist suspected sexual abuse, but nothing came of it. Later, she got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. We don't know what to do anymore. I have another little girl who is 6 years old, whom I had with my wife, and I must say that if it weren't for her, I think I would have already left the household. Yeah, I was literally gonna say that. I was gonna be like, bro, you might wanna get out of there. Like, that marriage might not be worth it. But if you have a kid together, yikes. It's becoming unbearable. I've tried yelling, explaining, crying, ignoring. It doesn't work. Sometimes I have to pick her up from school and all her friends know about it. She tells everyone that she's crazy about me, which leads to extremely unpleasant situations when I meet other parents at school meetings or events. I don't attend them anymore, by the way. 3 days ago, I got violent with her. I slapped her with the back of my hand when she touched my thighs while I was driving. I went fucking nuts, telling her that she was a... All right, I don't agree with that. Telling her that she was a whore and that she was destroying our family, that I wanted to, oh my God, holy shit, that I wanted to kill her, kill myself. All right, OP, I was with you until we got to this point, bro. I'm not a big fan of the hitting. I will say if you're in a helpless position, like you're driving and somebody is sexually harassing you no matter what age, I can see why you would do that. I don't think I could condone it, but there's not much else that you can do there in that position. But the things that he's saying to her, no matter what, that's not healthy, bro. For you or for her. Yeah, I went berserk. She just smiled. Like, really, it was effing surreal. I don't effing know what to do. We still have 1 year left before she's 18, and at that time, we could do some legal stuff to make it stop, but I don't even know if my wife would go through that. Sometimes I feel like she just wants to leave/die. My wife is in a deep depression, and so am I. I'm taking anti-anxiety medication, started smoking again, and some days I don't even come home. I go to my brother's place and pretend I had something urgent to do. Everyone knows why, but some days I just can't take it anymore and need some breathing room. Friday, I stayed at home while they went on some family trip, and I checked her laptop because I know she takes photos of me like an effing paparazzi. Well, fuck. There's a whole file with pictures of me. I took some photos because I started to gather evidence, and I didn't even have the energy to confront her later that night when they came home. I won't even tell you about her browsing history. I'm losing my mind, and our poor little girl has to live in this nightmare. I'm effing crying. I want this demon to disappear. I feel like even if she left the house, my marriage is over. I sometimes feel like my wife thinks I did something to make this happen. It's killing me. I didn't do shit. She's just effing nuts. I don't know how this will end, but I don't see any happy ending. If someone here has a bright idea, feel free to tell me because I'm actually losing my mind. There is an edit on this. Edit, I got an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow morning. I packed a bag for my daughter and I talked to my wife, and I said I'm leaving to my brother's house with our daughter. She just went silent, prepared a backpack with snacks for our 6-year-old, and she hugged her and said goodbye. I just arrived at my brother's house. I'm honestly a mess. I had my wife on the phone. She was sobbing and couldn't even speak for 10 straight minutes. She said she couldn't make a choice and felt trapped, but knows that we tried everything. She calmed down and talked to our daughter and told her we'll be together soon. I feel like my heart is about to stop, but my brother is the effing man. He took his daughter's bed out of the attic and made a room for us in 2 hours. So yeah, I left home tonight and have a meeting with a lawyer tomorrow morning. I took 2 weeks off of work. I don't fully understand my wife's position yet. I don't know if she'll follow me in the legal process of getting the demon out of our life or if she's under her spell. At this point, I told her I don't care what she does anymore, and the most important thing is that our daughter is away from that evil. And oh yeah, I took the laptop. Okay, cool, so he has the evidence. I mean, granted, I don't know their financial situation, so like I can't really say this, but like if you have the money, I would have shipped this woman off to boarding school, bro. Like after reading everything here, I think it's healthier not only for yourself, but pretty much everyone involved minus this demon daughter to figure out a way to like get her out of your life, whether that's divorce, whether that's, I don't know, something else. Like the wife has to also know deep down that like her husband hasn't done anything. Like OP hasn't done anything to merit this, and her daughter is just legitimately crazy. I would worry about stalking though. I think stalking is gonna be a big issue. This marriage has been over for a while. Where is the wife in all of this? It sounds like she's pretty backseated. I mean, think about you guys in this situation. Like it would be insanely hard for anybody to choose between the person that they married and their own child. When you're like a parent of a child, there's almost this like they're the product of what you created. So you've got to kind of like almost hold yourself responsible a little bit for how they turn out. But like, I think in a lot of cases, especially this one, it really isn't a product thing. Like, I don't think there's anything that these parents did that caused her to become this way. I think she just messed up in the head, bro. I don't know if this is the right word, but she has to be narcissistic. He clearly isn't consenting and she doesn't care how it affects her own mother. Probably a sociopath. Has to be a sociopath. I think at this point, you have to press the lost cause button. We're so past the possibility of bringing this girl back from the dark side. Like, you just gotta cut your losses and focus on that younger kid not ending up like this older kid. So this one was sent in by Gender Ghost, and her caption was, "Read this post and my life is yours." So I want to own Gender Ghost's life. And it's, am I the a-hole for eating sexy potatoes? My whole life I've been eating potatoes by microwaving them, then biting into them, eating them hot dog style. This is the easiest, most convenient, and intuitive way for me to eat potatoes, sweet potatoes or regular. I think this is how people in Japan eat them, or at least this is how I was taught by my Japanese parents to eat them. Whenever I go to a grocery store, I always pick out the most easily biteable potatoes, which are generally longer and thinner than most potatoes. So I work in an office of about 30 people. We all typically bring our own lunch, and I usually eat at my desk while doing work. No one has ever commented about how I eat potatoes, but I do eat them quite frequently. Recently, a new person was hired, and she clearly has a problem with the way I eat potatoes. A couple times she's pulled me aside and asked me I just eat potatoes a normal way. I asked her what she meant, and she said I was eating potatoes too suggestively. I was a little shocked because I literally just have my eyes glued to my screen whenever I'm eating and barely pay attention to how I eat. I told her no one else seemed to have a problem with the way I eat potatoes, but she insisted others were just too polite to say anything. I asked a few other coworkers who were all just as confused as me about what she was saying. I figured no one else really had a problem with it, but this happened multiple times. She kept coming to me and asking me to tone down the way I eat, even accused me of going out of my way to choose sexy potatoes. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever gotten like turned on by a way a girl eats food. Like even in movies when they're like eating food like sexually. Actually, just kidding. Maybe I could see it. If it was a girl I was interested in, I could see it. But I don't think I've ever seen a stranger eating and been like turned on by the way they're eating, bro. That's so picky. Like I feel like this person's maybe outing themselves. Like this person maybe gets turned on and like has a kink for like people eating things in a certain way, and it's just like self-reporting. I've considered bringing them other ways, but this is just the easiest way for me to eat them, and they're honestly delicious like this to me. I asked her to maybe just not watch me eat, but apparently that's just not feasible. Unfortunately, she reported me, and I now have a meeting with HR next week. This seems really dumb to me, but am I the a-hole for eating sexy potatoes? I mean, easy not the a-hole. Like, it's giving only child syndrome. They have to get their way or they're gonna throw a fit about it. This is crazy, bro. One of the edits is, please stop asking me for videos of me eating potatoes. It's creepy and weird, and also I would be extremely boring and the least sexy thing you'll ever watch. Yeah, I feel like you can only eat something like sexy if you're trying. Odds are this girl's in like, like, no, there's no fucking... Chat, don't clip that. Please don't. No, link, no. There's an update. I know there's an update, Ginger Ghost. I'm gonna get to that. So I had a couple of meetings with HR. The first one was on my own yesterday morning, alone with the HR woman. According to her, a coworker had reported me for sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment. Chat, is eating food sexual harassment? I think yes, and here's why. Not going to lie, after hearing these accusations, I was honestly pretty scared. Sexual harassment is a serious charge. I was allegedly making lewd gestures while eating, despite repeatedly being asked to stop. I told her exactly what had happened. I was eating potatoes the same way I always had in the 4 years I've worked in this office. No one else had ever had a problem with this until now. The new coworker, let's call her Karen, approached me, telling me I was eating potatoes inappropriately and told me to eat them another way. I had explained to her that this was how I grew up eating them and I would not stop. If it bothered her, she could and should look away. I continued eating potatoes this way. Then over the next several weeks, she kept complaining about my potatoes every time I ate them this way. As I explained my side, I could tell HR was getting really annoyed. I don't think she believed that this was all there was to it. She pressed for more information. Are you sure you didn't do anything to make her believe you were being inappropriate? Are you sure you weren't harassing her even unintentionally? I told her I never even talked to her unless it was about work or she approached me first. HR thanked me for coming in and told me she'd get back to me. I think she met with Karen after that. Then later that day, we had a meeting with the three of us. Karen says that I lied about not doing anything to make her uncomfortable. That after the first time she came to me asking me to eat my potatoes differently, I dismissed it as a joke, which to be fair, I did because dead ass, which I acknowledge because who wouldn't take it as a joke? Then she claimed that after each time she asked me to tone it down, I escalated by choosing increasingly sexy potatoes to eat in front of her, by which point I'm pretty sure HR was trying hard not to roll her eyes. Bro, don't you know that I get turned on by potatoes? Potatoes make me fucking hard, bro. Oh my God, bro, is that a potato? I responded by telling Karen I literally gave zero thought about her when I bought my potatoes and selected them based on ease of cooking/eating. She accused me of making eye contact with her while I was eating, which I think I did every time she watched me eat, because it's really uncomfortable having someone watch me eat, which I explained and told her I had repeatedly asked her to stop watching me. She then pointed out that no one else eats potatoes this way, and the only reason I would do so is to try to be provocative, which I swear to God, HR almost laughed at her. I just showed her a video of Japanese people eating potatoes with your hands and biting into them. HR woman knows me and knows I'm not the type to harass someone or deliberately make a hostile work environment. And at the end, she just said something like, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding. Perhaps it really would be best to look another way while your coworker is eating. Basically trying to politely tell Karen to get her head out of her ass. Then Karen tried to turn it around by claiming I was making a hostile work environment by telling our other coworkers bad things about her. But literally all I had done was ask others if they were uncomfortable with the way I eat and explaining why I had asked them. She tried yet another angle, claiming that the way I ate them with my hands was a COVID risk and that I was putting the safety of the office in jeopardy by eating this way. HR then said that if she was so concerned, she was welcome to work from home, as is currently company policy. I work in hardware, so it's harder for me to work from home, but Karen works in support, so it would be really easy for her to work from home. Eventually, Karen had to concede she had nothing left, so we were all dismissed. OP has never said whether they were like a male or female, I don't think. I've been imagining a female. Later, I talked to my coworker who had stopped bringing curry because of Karen. Let's call him Surya. About the problems I had with her, he had been unable to eat his regular Indian lunches in the office because of her. We were both extremely annoyed, and honestly, I just felt extremely uncomfortable being in an office where she was constantly judging Asian people's food. Oh, I didn't think of that. So I decided to file a report with HR as suggested by many of you. I pointed out how she was harassing Asian people for their food choices, and many of her comments towards me were bordering on sexual harassment. Surya agreed to bring curry for lunch today, and in solidarity, I brought some too, along with my potatoes. Karen didn't comment at all, but she did give us dirty looks and made disgusted faces a few times. I actually got called into a meeting this afternoon with my boss, who is also one of the founders of the company. He confessed that he didn't like Karen either, and that she had multiple complaints about her within the first month of her being hired. She's been here just under 2, and that he had hired her as a favor to his wife because she is his wife's cousin and had lost her job due to COVID. I wonder why they chose to let her go. He apologized to me on her behalf and assured me that he would talk to her. I decided to keep my harassment claim with HR and have another meeting tomorrow. We'll see how this goes. Thank you all for your tips and suggestions. I will keep eating sexy potatoes for the foreseeable future. We love the happy ending, chat, but there is also another final update. I was thinking about her being racist, but there wasn't enough evidence. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. Remember during COVID, there was like a ton of racism towards Asian because everyone was like, it's the Chinese virus. And then dumb white people are always like, Chinese, that's pretty much everybody who's Asian ever. The final update for sexy potatoes. So something I hadn't mentioned in the original post is that I'm a gay woman, which is known in the office. However, I didn't mention this because it wasn't relevant until now. Karen lost it the other day when Surya brought a lovely tiki masala to share. He's done this before the pandemic, and the kitchen is separate from the rest of the office, so you can't actually smell anything microwaved unless you're in the kitchen. She said it was really rude of him to keep bringing curries to the office and that no one confronted him because they were trying to be polite. Most people were enjoying the food he brought. He said in his home country, really well spiced curries were extremely common. People bring them / microwave them in the office all the time, and it's among some of the most popular takeout food. He had no reason to believe it would be the same here. Karen snapped back that we weren't in India, but Surya said he's from London. Karen didn't really have a response to that. Karen confronted me in the parking lot after my HR complaint, claiming I was trying to spite her with the hard-boiled eggs I had eaten at lunch, even though I'm definitely not the only one who eats them in the office. I guess eggs are now too sexy too? She said my harassment complaint was discriminating against her for being Christian, and I was making her deliberately uncomfortable by throwing my sexuality in her face, but she knew she couldn't say that because she'd be called homophobic. I'm a Christian, I'm discriminated against, wee woo, like shut the fuck up. I honestly had no idea she was uncomfortable with gay people, and to be honest, that's not my problem. But she said that my putting a pride sticker on my laptop a few days after she started working here was the start of my escalation. I can't believe people get butthurt over stickers, bro. Like, you have so many things in life to get mad over, but somebody's sticker is fucking crazy. If that's the hill you're really gonna die on in your life, like, you need better things in life. According to her, my behavior was retaliatory to her having Bible verses on her desk. Then here's the kicker. Apparently I was using my girlfriend, my relatively high-pitched voice, and my eating to get men in the office to lust after me, implying that Japanese / Asian women try way too hard to be sexually appealing. Yeah, you should get this woman fired, bro. No way. I would have gone off on her for being homophobic and racist with stereotypes I honestly had never heard of before, but I was tired and told her if my existence was bothering her, that's not my problem, and she should just work from home. I also subtly mentioned that maybe this is why she was laid off from her last job. Well, she filed another harassment claim, saying I was targeting her for religious discrimination. Like, goddamn, I just want to eat my perfectly innocent food in peace, and somehow it turned into a whole religious and racial war. I told HR what happened, and then Karen claimed I was trying to paint her in a bad light. My boss later talked to me privately and apologized. I think Karen is now working remotely, thank God, since I haven't seen her since last week. If she ever brings up anything about my innocuous eating, my sexual orientation, or my race again, I'm definitely going to file another complaint with HR. But for now, I think I'm content with eating sexy potatoes and eggs in peace. I think I'd get fired if I ever had to deal with somebody like this. I have like zero tolerance for just general general stupidity, I would have such a hard time not absolutely flaming the fuck out of this person or doxing them or just like doing something to them that might be frowned upon in a workplace environment. Nothing makes me more mad than stupidity, low-key. Never said it in this entire read, but not the a-hole. I think that's pretty evident. This one was sent in by Connor. My 27 male ex-fiance, 26 female, cheated on me with my cousin, 25 male. Now my family wants me to forgive him because he's sick with cancer.
Before we get into the last story, if you're still here, that probably means you're enjoying the video. And if so, I would ask you again if you could subscribe and or follow on Spotify if that's where you're listening. I post new reading Reddit videos every single week for you guys, and honestly, I'd love to do it even more. So by subscribing to me and supporting, that puts me one step closer to entertaining you more. Lastly, if you're on a podcast platform and this is like your third or fourth podcast that you've listened to from me, if you could leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, that would be greatly appreciated. Just helps these podcast platforms know that you're enjoying the podcast and that other people will too.
I don't have any siblings, but I have a cousin, Kevin, who's 2 years younger than me, and we literally grew up together. I spent a lot of time with my dad's side of the family. Mom is deceased, dad never remarried, he has health issues, and I was there with Kevin most of the time. We did everything together. Fought, played, cried, laughed together. I've always been very close to my grandparents as well, so I was very comfortable with being there. When I was engaged to my ex-fiance, I used to bring her over to my grandparents' house most of the time. Her, me, and Kevin would spend our time doing things together. I noticed Kevin would try to take part even in personal conversations and try to tag along whenever we went out for dinner. I set some boundaries because he just kept stomping over them. He changed. He tried to pick fights with me and claim I'm forgetting about him and prioritizing my ex over him. I didn't know how to deal with this, so I kept my distance. In about 2 months, I found out from my aunt about Kevin constantly meeting up with my ex, and she told me she was worried something was going on between Kevin and my ex-fiance, and she was right. Turned out my ex and Kevin got together and I was being kept in the dark while I was planning our wedding and handing out invitations. I felt like an absolute idiot. I couldn't handle my anger. I stopped everything and cut contact with Kevin and the family, except dad because he needed me. It's been over a year now. I heard that Kevin was in and out of the hospital, but I didn't know why, until my aunt reached out to me telling me that Kevin has liver cancer and wasn't handling it well. I drove my dad to visit him once and saw my ex, who's now his girlfriend, there, and I left right away. Dude, keeping her as your girlfriend too? Like, he's already crossing the line, but like, I think that puts the nail in the coffin there. Like, not only did you disrespect basically your brother on an insane level, but you keep disrespecting him. I kept my distance and recently started getting calls from my family members asking, did you hear about Kevin? And telling me the same story. My grandmother called me wanting to arrange for a family dinner on Christmas, and because Kevin got out of the hospital, and wanted me to come, hoping I'd solve my issues with him, seeing that I may not be able to do it later, but I refused. She told me I needed to have some empathy and let go of the past because what happened to him was enough for me to let it go. They started pressuring me from all sides. I told my grandparents that I won't sit with my ex-fiance and the person who wronged me at the same table and pretend to be a happy family. They replied that I was resentful. Yeah, dog, I think that's a perfect reason to be resentful. Like, what the fuck? That he's my cousin no matter what happens. It's the same people who allowed my ex into their house after what she did and sided with Kevin and said they only allowed my ex into the house for Kevin's sake. And now demand I get right with him because he clearly deserves more sympathy than I do. I'm deeply hurt and I can't imagine sitting at the same table with the people who hurt me the most. What should I do at this point? I think everyone is being unfair and refusing or just ignoring what Kevin did to me. Yeah, absolutely shitty family. I wouldn't give in. Like, this person wronged you in one of the worst, if not the worst way possible. And on top of that, your family is supporting that disrespect. It sucks, but I just cut off your entire family, bro. I get it. Death is like a hard thing to deal with. For them to try to completely sweep not even try. For them to completely sweep under the rug the absolute disrespect that man showed you, like, that's not a family you want to be around. I don't care if he's about to die. That is not something that you're just like, oh, well, it was an oopsie. It sounded like the family is the one pushing for them to get close. Doesn't sound like Kevin's asked for forgiveness. No, I don't think so at all, bro. I don't think you can ask for forgiveness. You can't ask for forgiveness when you're still dating the ex-fiance of OP. That's an insane disrespect to be like, hey, can you forgive me even though I'm still kind of complicit in it? Like, no. It's always the keep the peace families that make the victim of the conflict deal with the consequences. Exactly, bro.
If you enjoyed these Reddit stories and want more juicy Reddit stories just like the ones in this video, click the link at the top of the description, or if you're on YouTube, click one of the videos popping up on the screen. Our community has enjoyed the over 50 reading Reddit videos I've uploaded to my channels, and I'm sure you will too.